Hello, and while we're just waiting for the crossword video today to upload, I'm going to record myself of this Super Fiendish sudoku. So without further ado, let's open it up and take a look at it. Okay, so as usual, what we like to do is to put notation in like this. So within each 3x3 box, if you find two cells that can only contain a single number, like this, the 1 in this case, then we just make little notes like this. And we're going to continue around the grid, trying to find actual numbers we can write in. That would be ideal, but especially paying attention to making these pencil marks where we can. Okay. You can see as I do this, I don't really, it's not like I have a method. This is a naked 9 here. I'm not sort of going through the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm sort of just flitting around and seeing what looks reasonable. You can see now that in this row I need to place a 4 and I can't place it here, so that has to go over to this side, which means this will be a 1, which allows me to immediately fill this 1 in the central 3x3 box because of the work we did right at the very start. And now clearly we're going to have to work hard with all of these bottom 3 boxes here, because we have so much information already included within them. I'm always surprised actually when you get, I suppose, to this sort of stage in a puzzle so quickly that this puzzle can be graded super fiendish. It always worries me a bit because it might mean that there's a monstrous final step in this one. But anyway, let's keep plugging away and see how we do. So we can see what else are we looking for? A 5 in this box. So let's put the 5s in there. Now you can see here there are sort of 3 unknowns in this 3x3 box, but the 2 and the 5 both being in the same cells like this means these 2 cells have to be 2 and 5 in some order. There's no room for a 1 to appear in either of these boxes now, so the 1 is definitely going to be here. And remove the 1 from this position. Pencil mark the 1s up here, and pencil mark, well, you can see I'll pencil mark them in for good order, but you can see now this is all resolved. We've locked a 1 and a 7 into these 2 positions. Well, this one can't be a 1, so this must be the 1, this must be the 7, and this must be a 3. Okay. So now this central box is going to be 5, 9, and this is going to be 3, 6, 8 in some order. And you can see again we can put the 3s on the extremity there because of this 3 in that position, which means that we can fill in an 8 here. Now, what would I do? Well, I'd be looking at 3 particular columns immediately. I'd be looking at column 2, where we've got to place a 2, 6 and 8, and I'd be scanning, seeing whether I can do anything useful there. Can't see anything immediately useful to do. Although one thing I would probably check is, because there is a 6 here, I just hypothesized quickly whether there would be a 6 in this position, whether that's possible, because it checks so much in this box down here. You can see it would force a 6 into this position, which would force a 6 into this position, which would force a 6 into this position, but I can't see a reason why this doesn't work. Even going through sort of those 6 or 7 logical steps, that all still seem to make sense. But that is the sort of thing I would do. Now, the next column I'd look at would be this one. So here you can see we need 2, 5, 7 and 9. This cell here, that's therefore got to be a 7 and a 9, and this has got to be a 2 or a 5. But irritatingly, I don't think we can resolve it any further than that. We can write pencil marks for the 9s in these 2 positions. I suppose that's something, but I don't think we can actually go further. So now I'll move on to column 8. So here, what are we looking for? 1, 6 and 8. Well, I have a 1 checking this position, this one here. So that's going to allow me to write in these two ones. We now know this is a 6 or an 8, but we don't know which. I'm going to have to carry on working. Oh look, there is a 7 we can put in here. That's just a plain number. But that's going to give us a couple of numbers immediately. Let's fill those in, just in case it's helpful. Well, that is going to be helpful, isn't it? Because now, going back to our central row, we've got to place 2, 5, 9. Now this cell here, this can only be a 9. Let's fill that in. That means this has got to be a 9, this has got to be a 5, and this has got to be a 2, which allows us to make pencil marks in these two positions here. Can't see anything cleverer than that though. Is there anything else we can make? A couple of pencil marks up here too. Now we can write just 2s into these two positions. And we can write 8 into these two positions. What else do we need in this box here? We need 3 and a 6, don't we? So no, I don't think we can go further than that. Just checking row 6 now, so we need to place 3, 4, 6 and 8 into this column, not this row, sorry. Again, nothing immediately jumping out at me. Okay, well, here's a technique that we did, or I did a Sudoku video a couple of weeks ago on Kota Morinishi, the world Sudoku champion, and how he solves. And I think that's helped me to spot something about this grid. So I'm looking at this top 3x3 box here, and I've noticed that the numbers 1, 3 and 4 are all checking here. We've got those same 3 numbers, 1, 3 and 4, also in column 2. So if we sort of carve out which squares in this 3x3 box cannot contain 1, 3 and 4, we can see there's only 3 squares left that can actually contain it. This one, and this one. So this square here has to be a 3 or a 4, this can be a 1, 3 or 4, this can be a 1, 3 and a 4. Now, I don't know if that's useful, but the fact that that square in particular, if you look at how open this square is, the fact that we have restricted this square to a 3 or a 4 feels to me like it must be important in terms of the solve of the puzzle. Because if we were simply scanning rows and columns, if we scanned column 3, for example, we could see 2, 5, 6 and 7, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 could still go in this square, and there's no restriction at all placed on this square by just looking purely at rows and columns. Yet by this technique of sort of combining all of this information, we're able to narrow this square down to 3 or 4. I'm just going to note that just so that I can look more carefully now at this column here. So 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Okay. So that square could only be 3 or 6, I think. 2. And this could only be 3, 4 or 6. Aha, and that's the key. That's the key. So what we're able to work out from that is that we have a 3, 4 here, a 3, 6 here. This square here can only be 3, 4 or 6. So we've got a hidden triple here in this column. That means this square here can only be 2 or a 5, which links with this 2, 5 here. So that's a 2 or a 5. And now there's only one place a 6 can go in this top box. So the whole, which is obviously this square here, so let's just put that in and see if that is the step that will break, and it is. Look, that's immediately giving us a 6 down here, And that is the key step to solving the puzzle. Now we're going to get a 6 here, an 8, 5. This whole box will be filled, and the whole thing will propagate forwards. So I'm just going to go back a step, and because I think that there is something we can learn from this. The absolute key here to solving this puzzle is to spot this 1, 3, 4 combination. By doing that, I was able to so restrict this square compared to the plain information that was being given to me by just looking at, you know, the checking numbers in the row and column. This square became so restricted that prompted me to look at this column here and find that these 3 squares could only be one of a subset of 3 numbers, and that allowed me to rule out, I suppose, that there could be a 6 in this square, and that was it. So then once there couldn't be a 6 in this square, and I'd narrowed this down to a 3 or a 4, this was the only possibility for a 6. So sorry to go and do that twice, but I think sometimes we cover techniques in this series that are not standard. You know, and we're doing real puzzles here. This is a real Sudoku from today's edition of the Times. It's not some you know, puzzle generated for the purpose. So hopefully a lot of you will have tried this puzzle. You may have found your own way to do it, but yeah, I think when we do find these things, it's worth spending the time to actually go through them and show how they work. And you can see how immediately so much of the solve has become very, very simple as a result of that that spot, if that's the right word to call it. I'll just go a bit further just to check there's nothing else interesting, but I would be astonished if there was. I think we're very nearly there now. It's interesting, that square, this square here can only be a 2 or a 5 as well, so this square here has to be an 8. Which means this is an 8, which means this is a 2, which means this is a 3, which means this is a 6, which means this is a 4. And there you can see we've definitely made good progress. I suppose that's the polite way of putting it, but other ways would say we've destroyed the puzzle now. We've definitely broken the back of the resistance it was putting up. So another edition of Cracking the Cryptic, I hope useful. We look forward to seeing you next time, whether it's crosswords you enjoy or whether it's Sudoku. I hope the channel is delivering what you want to see. If there are puzzles you'd like to see us solve, we're very happy to do puzzles on request, so just add a comment to the video and we'll try and accommodate it if we get the time. And yeah, thanks very much for watching this edition of Cracking the Cryptic. There we go. Oh, but there we go, once I fill in the 2 here.